Welcome back, America. I'm joined now by Chairman of the House Select Committee on Engagement with the Chinese Communist Party, Representative Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin. Mr. Chairman, I note in the avalanche of Super Tuesday news, one story stands out. Not since the aftermath of 9/11 has an important national security measure been introduced with such bipartisan support as was introduced yesterday by you and your ranking member on the Select Committee. Tell us about this effort to finally get a foreign-controlled adversarial application, meaning TikTok and a few others, banned from the United States users.
Well, this is the result of really a year's worth of work, bipartisan, not just with my ranking member, Raja Krishnamurthy, but with the committees of jurisdiction. I salute Chairwoman Catherine McMorris-Rodgers for her constructive leadership on this. She has the jurisdiction over this bill, and they'll be doing activity this week to mark it up, but also engagement with the White House. We had the FBI director, for example, testify before our committee a few weeks ago about the national security threat posed by TikTok. The other thing we tried to do was learn from the failure of the previous Senate effort, which was viewed as too broad a grant of authority to the executive branch. So what we have here is a bill that says if you have an application that's controlled by a hostile foreign country, as we, Congress, define it, that would be China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, you need to divest that ownership structure if you want that app to continue to be hosted on various platforms like the Apple App Store. So the bill really does two things. It recognizes that TikTok poses a national security threat under its current ownership, and it stops app stores and web hosting providers from distributing the TikTok app in the U.S. unless TikTok severs its ties to the Chinese Communist Party. It also ensures, crucially, that the next time the CCP unleashes an app like TikTok against the U.S., we can act quickly to stop it. And then finally, I would say, Hugh, the bill does not place any restrictions on individual TikTok users or speech. Instead, the TikTok app will simply stop working in the U.S. because marketplaces can't host it unless they change the basic ownership structure. And if American investors want to make money off their investment in ByteDance, they want TikTok to go public in the U.S., not in a crappy Hong Kong market, that will not happen under the current ownership structure. This is the only way forward. So we tried to strike a balance. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I salute the constructive approach my ranking member, the members of my committee have taken on this bill.
So, Chairman Gallagher, what are the odds of getting it done in this Congress?
I think we can definitely get it out of the House very shortly here. The question then turns to the Senate. Now, the good news in the Senate is we have a variety of senators that understand the threat, foremost among them Senator Tom Cotton, who has been talking about this for months and months and months and clearly understands it. There's a bipartisan core of senators that were on the previous iteration of this bill. Marco Rubio, Senator King, Senator Warner had introduced a version or had attempted to stop TikTok. So we have a bipartisan group in the Senate that's interested in fixing this problem. What I'm hoping is that we'll get a strong bipartisan vote out of the House, and then the senators will choose to take that bill up rather than inventing a new construct, because the closer we get to the election day, I think the higher the risk is for the Democratic political machine to make the case that, oh, we need TikTok in order to reach Gen Z voters. And by the way, there's Republican opposition as well. It's not, I don't mean to make that a partisan thing that have to do with, certain investors in ByteDance and the money that they use to support conservative candidates. So my hope is that we can come together around this framework and the Senate will pass it expeditiously. And I've had a number of constructive conversations with senators with that in mind.
I don't know if you've dropped by to see Senator Fetterman yet of Pennsylvania, but his outrage over the pro-Hamas propaganda that has flooded TikTok since 10/7 may have put him in your camp of Democrats willing to support this legislation. Have you any indication from the senator on that yet?
I have not, but that's a great idea. And honestly, I would say post October 7th and, with a lot of members and their constituents seeing rampant anti-Semitism on the platform, as well as external analysis we've had comparing that content on TikTok to content on Instagram and really revealing huge disparities that can't be explained away and really point to opacity around the algorithm with TikTok. That is what I think has generated a lot of bipartisan support for action on this. And so I would welcome a conversation with Senator Fetterman. I'll take that for action, and I'm willing to work with anyone who wants to get this done. I mean, this is, I'll admit it, it's a, on the one hand, it sort of seems simple. Yes, a foreign adversary should not effectively control an application in the United States. On the other hand, it's legislatively complex. We want to make sure that we're not infringing on free speech. We want to make sure that we're not giving the executive branch the authority to go after American social media companies. And emphatically, this bill does not do that. This is very carefully drawn so as not to go overboard and focuses squarely on foreign adversary control of applications, which is something I think everybody can agree on. And so I think the hearing on Thursday in the Energy and Commerce Committee will be very crucial. And then I think we have a pathway to getting this done in this Congress.
And you've also almost certainly going to have the current majority leader, Chuck Schumer, as a strong supporter of the state of Israel on your side. Again, the Hamas propaganda put out by the CCP on TikTok was genuinely overwhelming. Did you have a breakthrough day in negotiation on this? And so who had the light bulb go off? Somebody always comes up with a way to thread the needle, and this is a difficult needle to thread because it cannot be too broad nor can it be too narrow. It has to be exactly, it's got to be a sniper shot, not a machine gun. Who came up with the idea of let's use the app hosting platform?
Well, I would say this. We had a previous iteration of this bill that we were very excited about, and then we kind of lost momentum on it. Just, I think, because of the extensive lobbying effort. TikTok spent millions of dollars trying to scare members of Congress, and then the failure of the Senate effort. And so it really was, as I indicated before, what we saw, the content we saw on the platform post October 7th that reinvigorated the effort. And then we really just worked for months with the Energy and Commerce Committee and their staff to arrive at the right framework. And then we got technical assistance from the White House as well. And so this was really a multi-branch, bipartisan effort. So there wasn't sort of one road to Damascus moment. It was just the product of months and months of work, of iterating on the construct. And I think, we've arrived at where we've arrived because of the hard work and good faith of a lot of different people.
And I'm sure Senator King, with whom you worked on the Cyber Solarium, will be on your side as well. Let me, too, while I have a moment with you, Congressman Gallagher, I'm a little bit concerned, actually I'm a lot concerned by the Jimmy Quinn article in National Review yesterday that you've exposed a Chinese biotech company working to help an American trade association keep their dancing in the dark. And I really hate this stuff. When I don't mind trade associations. I love them. I spoke to the NRB last week. I love the National Association of Broadcasters. I understand the need for and the efficacy of trade associations, but not when they let the Chi-Coms into them. What is going on there?
Well, what's happening is the CCP has gotten very good at weaponizing the DC swamp against us. As you'll appreciate, given your legal background, we have Foreign Agent Registration Act provisions that are very vague. They're exploited. They're under-enforced. We have the Lobbying Disclosure Act, which has similar loopholes in it. And so you have a trade-based association, in this case, one called BIO, representing the biotechnology industry, which includes companies like Wuxi AppTech, which is a Chinese biotechnology company with troubling ties to the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army. Wuxi is embedded in China's military-civil fusion strategy. It actively advances the CCP's objectives. And so for BIO to launch an advocacy campaign against My Biosecure Act, which would block foreign adversary biotech companies, and BGI is really the big Chinese company that we're worried about here, I think represents a violation of FARA and LDA. And so we're asking for the Justice Department to enforce that. And it really is disgusting. I mean, listen, I get it. I've been in D.C. for 8 years now. I've seen lobbying at its worst, but no one should lobby on behalf of a foreign adversary, in my opinion, particularly not former members of Congress. we should outlaw that. I mean, it's really disgusting. It represents the worst of the D.C. swamp.
No, I want people to understand. I have myself advocated for legislation. There's a bill right now that would mandate AM radio that I'm all for, but I don't get paid to do that. And so when you get paid to do something, you've got to be very careful about registering who you're working for. I mean, you've just got to do it. And I can't believe the Justice Department hasn't prosecuted this. Let me conclude today, Chairman, by asking you, we've got maybe 2 to 3 months left in the working life of the Select Committee, unless the next speaker extends it and revises it in your post-retirement years, new chairman, new staff, et cetera. What do you think has been the best thing that you've done? What do you want to get done in the next 3 months?
You know, I started off thinking that most of our successes would be legislative, and we've submitted a bunch of policy recommendations, so we've provided the legislative roadmap. But I've actually come to believe the biggest impact of the committee has been through our communication and our investigation. I've seen how it's actually changed behavior on Wall Street. Even in lobbying, we have people that are dropping certain lobbying firms because they represent CCP clients. I've gained a profound respect for what you can do if you have a platform and you use it responsibly and also work together in a bipartisan manner, because that just doesn't happen right now. So that has been, I think, the biggest learning experience for me. It's something I hope will continue in the next Congress, even though I won't be a member of that Congress. That being said, we have gotten a lot of legislation done in the National Defense Authorization Act process. But if Congress does oversight and investigations well and thoroughly, you can have a huge impact. Even something as simple as shining a light on the illegal CCP biolab in Reedley, California, which seems like kind of a little niche issue. Nobody was tracking that until we were able to work with local officials and expose the whole thing through a report. So that to me has been the unexpected, rewarding aspect of this experience, and I really hope it continues, and we intend to finish it.
I hope you spend some time, we're out of time, but I hope you spend some time on what 40,000 military-aged Chinese nationals crossing the southern border in 15 months means. We can't get into it today, we're out of time, but maybe next week we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Representative Mike Gallagher, follow him on X at Rep Gallagher.